In this video, we're going to examine 4 examples of things the ego says in order to help us more readily recognize the ego when it begins to surface within us. To help us in our quest, we have clips from The Golden Girls, The King of Queens, Seinfeld, and fan favorite, The Office. In our first egoic example, Blanche and Rose have decided to audition for a play in their local community theater, William Shakespeare's Lady Macbeth. Blanche is so determined to be cast in the lead role that prior to auditioning, she not only asks the director, Jason, out on a date, but she even has intercourse with him in the hopes of influencing his decision. Shortly thereafter, Jason calls and gives the girl some unexpected news. Blanche was cast in a minor background role, and instead, Rose was given the lead role of Lady Macbeth. Now, watch to see Blanche's ego's response.
He picked you over me.
Listen, I hate having to tell
Hold
you
on,
this.
Dorothy. This is a joke, isn't it? He didn't really pick you over me.
Oh, Blanche, I didn't even want the part, but Jason said I have presents.
Listen, I really have to go to work.
He
So let
actually
me
picked you over me. I do not believe this. I have been had.
The ego is incomplete because it is illusory to begin with, and so it seeks out external validation in order to prove its worth. It is constantly comparing itself with others, seeking to compete and conquer, and in so doing, feed its need for external sustenance. By being the center of attention or besting an opponent, the ego can tell itself that it's adored or a winner, and thus, for a time, be satiated. But this false sense of victory never lasts long, and so the ego once again sets about looking for its next meal. In our second example, Carrie, who works as a paralegal, recently befriended a new employee at the law firm where she works and invited her out to dinner. Carrie assumed her new friend was also a paralegal, but during dinner came to find out that she is actually an attorney. Carrie immediately felt diminished by this discovery and, as a result, decided to go back to school to, as she put it, make something of herself. However, college was more challenging than Carrie had anticipated, and we see her ego surface as the voice in the head in the following clip.
I think Plato's careful organization of his dialogues is only one of a lot of devices he used to make his point.
You mean like even the setting and then the names of the characters is a deliberate choice he made?
Absolutely. Matter of
Come
course,
on, Care.
being that
You can only sit here with this dumb smile on your face for so long. Say something halfway intelligent here.
Again, we see the ego comparing itself to others as it tries to establish what it deems to be an acceptable identity for itself. The ego doesn't know how to just be happy or just be. It must prove something or prove itself to others before it will allow itself to feel okay. And even then, that momentary peace is tenuous at best. It's also worth pointing out that Carrie's present uncomfortable circumstances came about as an egoic reaction to feeling threatened by the discovery that her new friend was an attorney, and not a lowly paralegal, as was Carrie. The ego tends to keep itself trapped within a perpetual cycle of discomfort and suffering, and because most of us are unaware of what is going on inside ourselves, we mistakenly call this unpleasantness life.
Hey, you believe this guy? Bob Cobb.
Bob Cobb?
You know, the maestro.
In our third example, featuring Seinfeld and crew, we're introduced to Bob Cobb, aka the maestro. Bob works as a conductor for his local Policemen's Benevolent Association orchestra. Bob has so identified with his role as conductor that he demands that others refer to him as maestro, even in social situations. Let's take a look.
Hey, maestro! Hey,
Kramer.
I'm in here. How's it going?
Fine.
Yeah. Hi, Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry, Maestro.
We can see the tension brewing on Bob's face the moment Jerry refers to him by his actual name. And now let's see what happens when Bob meets Jerry's friend Elaine for the first time.
Oh.
Hello.
Well, hello. And who might you be?
I might be Elaine.
This is Bob Cobb.
Maestro.
Oh, maestro.
Again, Bob's ego is perturbed by the fact that Jerry is not reinforcing Bob's false sense of identity. Because the ego is incomplete, it may identify itself with roles, as we see here in Bob's case. It's worth noting that the ego does not care about truth and is perfectly content to live within its own self-created delusions. Our final clip features one Dwight Schrute from the ever-popular sitcom The Office. For a quick bit of context, Dwight has recently obtained his purple belt from the local dojo he attends. Rather than simply be content with his increased ability to defend himself, Dwight instead follows the promptings of his ego and brings his belt to work in order to deliver the following message to his coworkers.
This is not a toy. This is a message for the entire office so that everyone can see that I am capable of physically dominating them.
Again, we see the ego's need to compare itself to others and pronounce itself superior. As stated previously, the ego does not know how to simply be and is often stuck in the mode of becoming. Self-observation reveals to us that the ego delays happiness and satisfaction until its markers are achieved and dismisses them shortly thereafter, only to establish another hurdle, another obstacle, another objective, and the cycle repeats. When the ego surfaces, understand it is happening for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. We are being presented with an opportunity to transcend the ego, to reach toward our authentic self and level up our consciousness. The earth serves as a classroom, and each of us are its pupils, with circumstance playing the role of instructor. When we recognize what is truly happening, we're able to pass the test. If we remain unconscious and unaware, we miss the mark and miss out on our opportunity to grow and evolve spiritually. The purpose of this video is to share examples of the ego in action, and in so doing, help us to identify these same inner impulses within ourselves. After all, in order to let go of the ego, we must first learn to recognize it when it surfaces. Transcending one's ego is as simple as letting go of it when it appears. So, rather than react to the voice in the head, question it. Rather than believe every thought that arises, investigate them. Practice observing your thoughts rather than unconsciously identifying with them. Once we learn to look beyond our egoic influences, our true, authentic self at last has an opportunity to shine through.